The important thing is to understand the process. So to understand our judging criteria, firstly, when we talk about creativity, it's not about a pretty picture. It's about innovation, about ideas. So our first judging criteria is innovation. Every piece is looked at and said, what's special about this entry? Where's the idea? Then we look at quality. So it's quality of execution. So you say, the idea is good, how well have you executed against that idea? And lastly, we look at relevance, and we look at relevance in three areas. Is it relevant to the brand? Is it relevant to the audience? And is it relevant to the chosen medium? So all of those criteria are very important, because often work falls down in one or other of those areas, and people have a great idea, but it's not really relevant to the brand, or they have a great idea and it just wasn't executed very well. So that's the first thing. Look at those criteria and work towards those. Then secondly, understand how our judging works. Each judge has to look at hundreds of pieces of work. And if it's print, for example, all the work is laid out on long tables, and the judge walks along and looks at every single piece. And the first round of judging is an in-out round. So the judge looks at every single piece and just votes it in or out. If you score enough points in the first round, your piece makes it through into the second round and is then a finalist. And once you're a finalist, every judge has to then look at it again and give it an actual score. So even a judge who voted something out in the first round, if it's a finalist, they will then re-look at the piece and perhaps reconsider it and look at what they perhaps missed and then score it. So I would say the biggest thing to aim for is to say, make sure your work offers enough to be considered a finalist. So if judges look at it and they say, would I vote this in or would I vote it out? If they look at it and they say, I'm not too sure about this, I'd give it a second thought, then you're going to get voted in. So it's very important to not be overlooked in the first round. So then how do you make sure you aren't overlooked in the first round? It's important to show what's special about your entry in as brief a moment as possible. So again, if somebody's looking at hundreds of entries and you've got boards, you want to say on the board up front, this is what is special about this entry. This is what we did differently. If you bury it in layers and layers of complication, often a judge might miss that. So it is very important how you enter. Don't think, oh, this works great, it's up for the judge to figure it out. That's not going to happen. So the way you enter does influence the judge. So that's pretty much it. You've got to say your entries next to somebody else's work. What makes this better than the work that's on either side of it? And I'd say those are the secrets to winning a Loeries Award.